you, Madison. As Madison said, my name is Mary. My last name is Breitbach, and I'm an implementation consultant here at McGraw Hill. And my job is to help anybody who is using our Connect system to go ahead and help you with any training needs you have, any follow-up questions you have once you begin using it, ongoing all semester. And so I am here for you, and I am the designated person to help you with your Connect implementation here. And so it's kind of nice to have one person that you know you're going to call for that. So, so if you do not have my information, please make sure that you get that from your department chair or organizer, and they'll be happy to share that with you. I'm going to share my screen with you. Okay, and I'm assuming you can see my screen, my Connect view. Madison, let me know if that's not the case.
Yes, I can.
Thank you. I am logged into Connect. So we're going to start on the Connect side, and then we're going to go ahead and cover the integration. Many of you will be, or actually probably all of you will be getting your courses that are already set up for you, whether it's a face-to-face or a statewide. Statewide for sure, it'll be a master course. For those of you with face-to-face, you more than likely will be getting some sort of a course as well. And I am logged into Connect. You should all have a Connect login. If you do not, you can talk to your rep, or your department chair will connect you to the right person, and they will make sure that you have a Connect login that will be signed in with your email address and a designated password. You would have been sent an email with that information. And there always is a way for you to choose, I forgot my password, if you don't remember it, and you can just log in with your school email address, and then it will send you an email and you can reset that. So once you log in though, you will see your course. And so I'm logged in. I just grabbed a summer 2018, had this sent to me for the Business 105. The way Connect works though, it will function the same no matter what your course. So if you're teaching a different course, don't worry, this session will be relevant to what we're going to cover in Connect. Now there's two different types of instructors that may be on this call, so I'm going to cover a little bit of both. The first instructors are those who were sent a course, a master course, and they're going to change dates for depending on their class schedule, and we're going to work on that. For other instructors, you may be allowed to add assignments. This would be for face-to-face instructors, and again, that would be something to talk to your course coordinator about. But if you can add assignments, we will briefly go over that as well. And then finally, we'll conclude with the integration to the IvyLearn system. So when I first log in, I see my course, and I have this one right here. I will want to go in and edit my name so that it's relevant to the course in the section I'm teaching, as well as set my registration date. So for the registration dates, right over here to the right, there are 3 dots. Those are our course options. And when I click on that, I can go ahead and set the registration date. If you have multiple sections, you can choose a specific section. Otherwise, it will just bring up the one that you have. And then I will think about when my students are starting and when I want them to be able to log into Connect. So you might have a course that begins in June, maybe June 13th, and you want to let them log in starting on the 11th. You can set that. If the students try to log in on the 10th, then they're going to get a message that the course is not open yet for them in Connect. The end date is just the date where the students are no longer allowed to register. So they would have to come to you and say, I didn't register in time. They're still going to have their full access for the full semester, but the end date, you would set that for 2-3 weeks after the class has begun, knowing that you want your students to have registered during this period of time. You can always go back and extend that if you need to for a student. So I'm going to apply that, and we'll let that take place. Now, ignore me. I have to scroll down to find my business class. I have a lot of classes in here. You won't have all these, so I just want you to know that when I'm scrolling, you're not going to have this on yours. Let me just get down to where mine is. Okay, so there's my new date. I'm also going to change my title. So I'm going to go over here to the gear button. There's 3 icons here. The gear button will let me edit my section details. And for that, I can go in and instead of the master, I can go ahead and put my course number and then my section number, whatever yours would be, and hit save. If you have multiple sections, I would recommend you first look at the dates and change those, and then I'll show you how to come back and duplicate this to add your other section. For now, I'm going to go ahead and just click on the name to log into Connect. So a quick little Connect tour. There are three icons or three tabs along the top. That's how you navigate around Connect. The Home tab is where you're going to see either a list of assignments or folders with assignments in. We're going to look at those in detail here in a moment. The Library is where you can go ahead and get the ebook. You can see the question bank. Most of the instructors are most interested in the instructor resource site. This will launch you out to the McGraw Hill author site, and it's going to give you a list of what's available for that particular author and title. These will vary based on title, but you will most often find your instructor manual. Very often you'll find a solutions manual there as well. PowerPoints are there. These PowerPoints can be downloaded to your computer and edited so they flow with the way you teach your class. There's also a test bank. This would only be for those administering printed exams. We have the same test bank built into Connect. And then there's other assets that are here depending on the author and title. So that's under Library Instructor Resources. The third tab is your Performance tab. This is where you can actually go ahead and see a series of reports about how students are performing once they are logged in and taking this class. All your grades will transfer over to your IvyLearn Canvas gradebook, but you do have the ability to kind of dig down deeper, and we'll talk real briefly about these reports. This is another great call for you to schedule a one-on-one with me, maybe a couple weeks into the semester or 3 weeks into the semester, and say, let's look at the results and the reports, and you and I can get on a webinar one-on-one and look at these reports in your specific class and the students' results for that class. But right now, the assignment results is going to look an awful lot like a grade book. The best grade will be transferred over to the IvyLearn system if you decide to make that your average or the last grade. If you've given multiple attempts, that's what would go over, but the default is usually set to go for the best grade. In this report, you can see all the different attempts that a student took. Student performance is where you can look at a student's individual scores. So if they're in your office and you don't want to pull up the whole class, you can just type in their name from this report and look at that. Item statistics just gives you a quick snapshot of the high-low average of an assignment in each attempt. And the item analysis will let you look at a single question in an exam or in a assignment. So if you happen to have a quiz and you're wondering, I wonder if question 3 was confusing, how many of my students got that one correct or incorrect, you can actually just itemize it and look at this report. Category analysis will let you decide what you're going to dig down. It might be by learning objective or by difficulty level or Bloom's taxonomy. There's different filters that you can then dig down and analyze an assignment based on your criteria. The at-risk report will let you see if you have students falling behind. This is based on both the amount of time they've spent in Connect as well as their grade. So a great report to just kind of give you a snapshot of your class. And in LearnSmart, there are a series of reports that will let you see how your students are doing on their reading assignments. So LearnSmart is the reading assignments. We'll talk about those briefly in a moment. But if you have those assigned, you can actually look and see if the students have been reading, how much time they've spent, if there's a topic area or question that they've struggled with, and their metacognitive. Do they know it, think they know it, understand it, no idea? Have they gotten it right and knew that they knew it, or did they get it right by guessing? So it kind of gives you some information. There's a lot of information here. Again, that would be a great call for us to have once the semester has begun. So back to my home page, these are the 3 tabs along the top. The My Courses button will let you get back to that original sign-in page that we were on. Instructor View and Student View, you can see all the assignments from the Instructor View on the home page, or if you'd like to see what the student experience is once they click on the assignment from IvyLearn, you have the opportunity to do that here. And so I'm flipping over to Student View, and you'll see we have, if there are folders, we'll see the folders. If not, you'll see the list of assignments. And you can actually go in and look at assignments from the student perspective. and see what it looks like from the student point of view. All righty. Right here you have section information. You can go ahead and update that by clicking on any of these or just going up here to edit details, and you can put your picture in, your email address, you can put your office hours or whatever information you feel is important. Remember though, you are using the IvyLearn system, so I'm guessing you probably have all that posted in there already. That's the most important place because that's what your students will see first. For this particular author and title, there is an ebook and there is smart book. Students have both. Your students will have some sort of a digital book. It might just be the smart book, or it might be the ebook and smart book. The content is going to be exactly the same in both for that. And so the ebook functions just like an ebook. There is an audio feature in it for some authors and titles, though. So know that there's a little speaker so students could listen to some of the pages if they have the ebook. SmartBook is our adaptive learning plan. So with SmartBook, students will take the assignments. It's actually an assignment, and they can go in, and let me click on it real quick and just spend a couple minutes on this. They're going to open it up, see the same content, but there's going to be highlights there directing them to the key concepts that they need to work on at this particular moment in time. Let me get into this, and I'll show you what that looks like. Students can work on SmartBook from a tablet. They can even work on it from their phone, although it's pretty small on the phone. All right, so they're going to see, if there are assignments, they're going to see a list of all the assignments and when they're due. They also have, if you don't have a program where these are assigned, they have the self-study where they can just go in as a self-study. But when a student's taking an assignment, they will click on that assignment. They're going to see their content. Some parts of the page will be grayed out and some will be highlighted. But the students ultimately are in control, so they can just click on it and make it all so that it, can be all red at the same time, or they can scroll through the highlights, looking for the particular highlights to read those first. We're in no way saying that's all they need to read. Obviously, they need to read more than that. This is just at this particular moment in time, they're just getting kind of a brief overview of what that is. How they get graded on this is going to be by answering practice questions. We'll look at that in a moment. And so they can go through and they would scroll page to page and read. And then down here, they have the practice button. This is where they go ahead and prove that they understand the concept. This is not like a quiz where they're recalling the information later. This is right while they're in the moment of reading and learning this material. It's checking their comprehension. And so this one's a check all that apply. They would go through. I'm just going to guess here and throw a few in there. And then they're going to go ahead. Let me turn my email off. Sorry about that. Then they're going to go in and choose whether or not they know it. They think they know it. Unsure, no idea. It's a little metacognitive check for them. And it's going to tell them if they were correct or incorrect. It's not going to assume because they saw the answers that they know it. In a little while, it's going to give them a differently worded question so that they can go in and prove that they know it. And so this gives the students who need a little more time to learn concepts some questions to make sure that they understand it. They also always have the opportunity to read about it. So if they're in reading or reading a question and they don't quite understand, they can jump right to that part of the book and dig for the answers, which we definitely want them to do. While they're completing this, then the highlights are starting to change, including more of the reading that they need to spend their time focusing on based on the questions that they didn't get correct. Or the highlights will turn to green, showing that they've proven they know this and they need to focus on another section. So it's an adaptive reading plan for your students. At any time, they can go back and forth between the practice questions and the read button. All right, so that was just a very quick overview of that. They do always have reports showing how where their progress is, what their missed questions were, and things like that. So there's a lot of great tools in here for your students. I'm going to go back to the instructor side. So that's the difference in the books that you may see. Let's focus, now that we're on the home page again, let's focus on the assignment. So this course was copied to me this morning. It is an Ivy Tech course for the Business 105, and the modules are built out. And if you open any of these modules, you can see what is in there. There's a way to look and see what these assignments look like. We have a Learn Smart, that would be our reading assignment. Looks like we have a quiz and a couple of homework assignments. This one has video. Module 3 also has a video. So you can open each module to see what's there. To see the assignment itself, just simply click on it. And it's going to give you a couple options. You can preview it, or you can look at the policy settings. And so to preview it, you're actually going to go through. This one just has one question. It's just built in there. So you can go ahead and preview what is the question and then what the answer is. So once it downloads, it will give us that, the opportunity to see that answer. Sorry about my slow computer here. There it is. This one's a drag and drop. The students will see the answers up here in blue, and they're actually going to do some categorizing for this drag and drop question to drop the right answers in. Policy settings are things that were set up for you. So if you're given a statewide course, most often these are things that you're not supposed to change. If you are allowed to change them, I'll show you how to edit an assignment in a minute. Again, I caution you, please make sure you check with your department chair on the flexibility. I know statewide courses, you need to administer those as is. So on the policy settings, I can just look at, and it's covering things like the basic. Is there a time limit? Am I allowed to print? Are the questions in order? Number of attempts is listed there. Whether or not they can use different resources, and then what feedback they get. We'll dig into these policy settings a little bit more in a moment. So if you're given a course, you can simply just look at the assignments by clicking on them and seeing what's involved with the preview button. If you have some flexibility to change these, I will spend just a few minutes here showing how to edit. I'm going to go into this quiz for chapter 1, and again, you just click on it, and instead of preview and policy settings, there's a drop-down menu over here to the right where you can go in and edit assignments. Right now, I do want to pause and let you know that once students register for your class, there will be a 4th box here, and that's how you manage your extension. So if you have a student who has a circumstance where they need, another week to do their assignment or something, you can simply just click on the assignment, come to the assignment options drop-down, and go to manage extension. That's something you can easily email me for instructions for when that situation comes up as well. So here, this brings me inside of the quiz. This shows me that whoever built this created a question, a quiz based on a pool. So there are 97 questions in the pool, and every student is going to get 25 of those. So there's a draw. So every student gets a different question as they're taking this. It's a great method to prevent cheating. If you were to add more questions, you can certainly go back and choose your category. It's broken up by chapters, and then it has different banks within the chapters. So application exercises, that's for some of those videos and things, and the drag and drops were chosen from a quiz bank, a test bank, and then everyone will have a little bit of a different choices here depending on the author and title. But this has these. If you want to go ahead and read all the questions, you can just click on them or use the preview feature we looked at before. I'm going to go down to the very bottom right. That is how we always continue. And so if I go to continue, this is one place I can change the dates. I'm going to show you a much easier way to change dates here in a little bit. But you can go ahead and change your start and end date. And then this button down here lets you either accept late submissions. You can reduce the score by a certain percent for every day or hour, or you can have it automatically submit on the due date. And so it will take wherever the students are and turn that in. And these are those policy settings that we were looking at just a moment ago. So if I expand this, this is where you can see, and I opened a different one than we were looking at before, but here, this basic, this quiz, it has a 50-minute limit. So even though it might be open for a week, once students begin working on it, they're given 50 minutes. This one also scrambles the question. So even though we have a question pool and the students are getting different questions, the answers are also going to be in a different order. Number of attempts is next. This is 1. If there's an assignment with multiple, you do have the choice of whether to On each new attempt, the students will start over or revise the previous attempt. So in this situation, there's a pool. The students will be given a new set of questions from the pool. If they're revising what they did before, they're given the same question. Resources allows you to decide if they can see their ebook, if there are hints available, if they can see those, or check my work, letting them see if they're on the right track before they turn it in. If you do have an open book quiz, you could simply pop that on. And you even have the ability to deduct a percentage if they do use their book. Feedback is the last category, and this is where you're determining what the students will see when they turn it in. So if later on students are saying, I never did get the correct answers, that would be because in this particular case, it's that where the students will only receive their score. You have other choices though. You can give them their, no feedback at all. I don't recommend that because they wouldn't even see their score. We have the score here. We have the total score before the due date, and then the detailed feedback after the due date, meaning they're going to get the answers after the due date, not before. With total score, they're never going to see the answers. They're only going to see their score. Question score, correct and incorrect indicators in the total score lets them see their score, and only if they were right or wrong, but not give them the correct answer. And then, of course, the detailed feedback will give them the answers right away. Detailed feedback with solution, if you have a numeric type problem that involves a solution explanation, that would be there as well. And so you can go ahead and set that. There's a default setting, and so anything under the quiz category, if I were allowed to make a change, I can default that to all my other quizzes as long as students haven't begun working on it. And then I'm just going to get out of this. So there's lots of options for you. It's whether or not you're allowed to make changes to the course that you have. If you are, and there's some things that you want to make, feel free to schedule a call with me and we can walk through those together. Again, if it's a statewide course, you're going to administer it as is. All righty. So that's Connect. It's like I said, with the 3 tabs and all of your assignments here, it's fairly easy to function. For many of you, you'll be given a course, and really the only thing you're going to be allowed to do is change the date for that particular course. So for this Business 105 course, I was given the course that I'm supposed to assign exactly as is. And so I'm going to show you how to change the dates. You do not need to go into the assignments and go through the policy settings. Those are already set up for you. All you have to do is click on the boxes to the right of the assignment, and you can do multiple modules at one time if you'd like, or just do a few assignments at a time if you'd like. So I can just pick, maybe I'll just do these. If I look up above that, I'm going to see a 3-square drop down. This is how I manage my course. And so I can go ahead and manage my dates. And if I want all the dates to have the same start, or all the assignments to have the same start date and the same due date, I can put those in here in bulk, or I can go to individually. And this is where I can go ahead and change my dates depending on my schedule. So perhaps you have a Tuesday, Thursday instead of a Monday, Wednesday, Friday, or perhaps you have an online course where you want them all to be dated by module. You have lots of choices here. And so you can go through and change your assignment dates, adding assignments when they're due. I'll just pop some random ones in here, and then go ahead and save that. And that's going to save the dates. That's going to make those changes for you. So a really easy way for you to go ahead and just adjust the dates depending on your course schedule. Again, just clicking on the button and going to manage dates. You also have the ability to show or hide assignments. So if you don't want your students to see the quizzes yet, you can just block out the eyeball by clicking on it. Or with the buttons checked off to the right, there is a show hide, and you can do several at once that way. Up here is where you also, let me let that go away. You also have a way of deleting assignments, again, checking on them. You have a way of copying assignments, of changing the group names. So right now the groups are those modules, and so you can change those names and edit those very easily there. All righty. If you have any questions of things you want me to go over in Connect, feel free to type that into the chat. Otherwise, and just I'll pause here for a few seconds. Otherwise, I will move on to the integration.
Mary, I think there was a question about how they could set up a course for an adjunct when it's in your name.
Okay, so basically they, like one instructor has already set up a course and they want the adjunct to have that course?
I think that's my understanding. Pamela, can you confirm if that's the case?
I'm assuming that you're asking about a course that you're building yourself and not something that is a statewide course or a course that was built by a course coordinator. Let me know if that's not correct. If it is one of those others where it's a statewide or something like that, the adjunct would get that from the Course Commons site for that at the IvyLearn site. If you just simply have created your own Connect course and you want to give an adjunct a copy of that, the first thing you need to do is make sure the adjunct has a Connect account, and your rep will be happy to set you up with that. And once they do that, right here, right by your section information, there's a little gear button. And this is where you can go ahead and copy a section to a colleague or share a section to a colleague. In the situation of adjuncts, most often I see them, I see for both, I see them copied. The only way you would share it is if you absolutely need to see their student results without them sending you a report, but you being able to log in and see that. But I believe at IvyLearn, we've been told that copying is the best choice for you. So you would choose copy the section, and then you would copy that, and you would simply put in the adjunct's email address that is used when their course is created, and find them and then copy it over to them. Then the next time they log into their Connect, they're going to see the course, however you've named it, to them. And then they can go ahead and change the name to their section number, and they can go ahead and change the date to their assignment if that's the case. So let me know if I answered your question by chatting a yes or a no in. I can certainly get into go through that again. And I can come back to Connect. Let's jump over to the IvyLearn side and talk about the IvyLearn side and talk about the integration. I'll just click over to that. So in IvyLearn, for the integration, it's a very simple process. I love the way it works. Basically, it's a one-to-one integration with Connect. So if you happen to be teaching 2 sections of Connect and you're going to have 2 sections in the Canvas IvyLearn system, let me jump back to Connect real quick. You're going to want to make sure you have 2 sections in Connect. And so let me show you how to do that first. Sorry, and then we'll jump back to the IvyLearn system. You would find your course. Let me scroll down to my management one again. And once again, I apologize for all the extra things I have in here. So here's the one I set up, and I put it as my 002. This same gear button, you would just duplicate. That's creating an exact replica in your course. And you would take out the copy of, and you would change whatever you would need to change in the name to make it relevant for your second section. So your new dates and everything are going to copy over. And then I can continue to that section. From the outside, I'm going to go ahead and see the duplicate is there. And then I compare that with the 2 sections I have. So it is a one-to-one integration from IvyLearn to Connect. So if you're teaching multiple sections, you'll want to make sure you have multiple sections built out. So right now I just made a duplicate of that. From the IvyLearn side now, so for the integration, you're going to find the section that you're ready to pair with. I'm just using a sandbox setting that they gave me to use for this. And the first thing you're going to do is look down here on the left-hand side and see if you see the McGraw Hill Connect. You may see it already there, and that's great. You'll click on that, but you may not. So I'm going to show you how to add that if you don't see it there. You're going to go to the settings button at the bottom of the page, or the bottom of that list, and there are 2 sets of boxes. You'll look in the second set of box and find your McGraw Hill Connect, and then you're simply going to grab it and move it on up to the top section so that it'll be visible. Once I decide where I want it to go, I have to scroll down to the bottom and make sure I save that so that it locks in up at the top. Once I do that, I'm going to see it appear over here on the left-hand side. So now I have what I'm looking for to begin the integration. I'm going to click on the McGraw Hill Connect, and it's going to load. The first time you will see that it needs to be paired with the Connect section. If you already show that it's paired already, you will need to check and make sure that you have the new section created or that you've gone to the correct section. I'm going to go ahead and pair with the Connect section. And then you're going to choose the second choice because you've already have an existing Connect course. So you're gonna pair it with an existing Connect course, and then you're going to find, you might have multiple titles that you're working with. You're going to go ahead and find yours. I'm working with the sandbox, so it's not linked up to mine. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'll still use the business example though, and I'll find my course. This is why it's nice to name it Summer 2018, Fall 2018. It gives you a better idea than what you're working with. When you click on this, you'll see your course. So you would find your course and go ahead and choose that and hit save. And once you do that, it's going to pop you into Connect real quick. But off to the side now, you will see kind of an orangey yellow button, Return to IvyLearn. This will always let you get back to IvyLearn. So once this initial integration is made, always just go through IvyLearn. So instead of logging into Connect separately, come into IvyLearn, find your McGraw Hill Connect, and you can always go to your Connect section here by clicking on that. Now, in IvyLearn, you probably have modules or assignments. So we're going to first look and go to the assignments. Your assignments will be there or they'll be in the modules for that. And so in order to get those to become live with the one that we just paired it with, so the assignment names match, you're going to go ahead and relink. So I first did the pairing, and now I'm going to link the assignments to the ones I've copied over. And so I can just run on that. It's going to link those up. It may not for me just because I'm using a sandbox here. Yep, it didn't for me. But it would show you then that your assignments are linked up. And then from there, whenever you hit go to my Connect section, it's going to take you back to Connect. So you can go back and forth very easily. Once you do get that linked up, if you go to your gradebook, you'll see columns in your gradebook for all of your Connect assignments. And if you make any changes to those assignments, let's say you change dates or something after they're already in here, in order to get those dates to be reflected, there is a sync button for that. Any questions on the integration process? It's a pretty easy process. While we're waiting for questions, there is one thing that I do want to make sure to talk to you about, and that's, I touched on it before, but we're talking about when you're importing a course from the Commons site. You always want to get a course that's been built for you from the Commons site. You do not want to duplicate a course from last term. We looked at that real briefly. If somebody's sharing, if somebody's duplicating, that's if you have a course that you've changed, we look at that duplication process. But if you're getting your initial course, you want to make sure that you're always getting that from the Commons site. Those were the ones where the changes are made. The other thing that's very important is that you're using this correct term from the Commons site. Right now, we're in the summer term, so please make sure you're not getting a spring course from the Commons site, that you're truly going to find the summer course. That'll be the case again in the fall. You don't want to pull a summer course, you want to pull a spring course, and you don't want to duplicate, you want to grab a new one. There's often changes made, and you just want to make sure that you're always using the course that has all the changes. Any questions or comments or anything I can help with or show you again? Madison, let me know if there's anything else you would like me to cover as well.
I think we're good. Amy, I just wanted to answer your question real quick. We will be posting this recording of the meeting to the Faculty Resource Center. And I believe the recording will also be sent to you in an email, since you were a participant in this webinar. So it'll be available in both locations if you need to go back and review any of the material covered here.
And again, I do work with Ivy Tech instructors. So if you have questions or feel like you just need some more training, or would like to follow up with me after your semester begins and look at student reports or anything like that, please make sure you reach out to me. Your department chair or the McGraw Hill rep can give you my information and introduce us via email, and we can spend some time talking. That's my job, is to make sure that you are comfortable in Connect. And so whatever you need, please be sure to let me know.
While we're waiting for any additional questions, I also just wanted to bring something up that I just thought of. We get a lot of questions around midterm and finals saying my availability date isn't what I want it to be and I need to change it because I have a student who has to access it early, or it needs to go longer. And that becomes an issue when any student, regardless of if they're in your section or not, but any student in the course that you are teaching, so for example, Business 105, any student in Business 105 using a Connect course across the state, if they access that midterm, for example, you can no longer change your availability date. So I would highly recommend going in before the semester begins, checking your availability dates for the midterm, final, especially any other exams as well that you may have in your course, and just make sure that those dates are set how you would like them to be set. It's a lot easier to change it before than it is for us to have to change it, the day before when you have panicked students, and that causes some stress for you as well. So just double check those, make sure everything is set as you would like it to be, and that way it'll kind of avoid any last minute panic for you and for your students as well.
And let me make a point to that, if I can, Madison. That's also true for your points. So if you are in there and you want to go ahead and set up your points, please make sure you're checking your actual points within the course, and you're checking your policy settings and things like that. If you've gotten a course that's built for you, those have probably already been checked. But it's nice to go in and just check your points, check everything, because once students begin working on something, you're less likely to be able to change anything. You definitely cannot change points or questions. Some of the policies will be left in as well.
Thanks for adding that in, Mary. So I don't see any other additional questions at this time. Mary, did you have anything else that you wanted to touch on to cover with the Connect pairing process or the IvyLearn instance?
No, I think we covered anything. Again, remember, if there's something you don't understand, we covered an awful lot of material today. So anything you don't understand, any questions you have, please make sure to reach out to me. I'd be more than happy to shoot you an email back with the answer to your question, or we can jump on a phone call, or we can jump on a WebEx and go through it together. So just don't hesitate to reach out.
All right, wonderful, thank you. Well, Mary and I will be here that you may have that you think of, but we'll go ahead and conclude our webinar. Thank you so much for your time this morning. We hope you found this helpful. As Mary said, if you have any questions, or if you just want some extra support going through your course and getting it set up, they are more than willing to help.